I hate how people say fear of public restrooms. They emphasize the first word like there's something unreasonable about it. There's nothing unreasonable about it. Just look at the damn name, public, which means shown to the world, shouted from the mountaintops. A word that conjures up images of open-air theaters and stadiums, Times Square and the Grand Canyon, and then restroom, where business is done in the most private of privates, where the most intimate of lovers leave each other alone. How could that combination not make your skin crawl? Compare it to the similar term, public nudity, an act almost exclusively reserved for someone drunk or high or legitimately crazy. Hell, it's a crime. And it should be. Whichever lawmaker thought that up should be commended. He was doing a damn fine job. So I'm not a germaphobe or insecure or anything else for avoiding public restrooms. I feel the way we should feel about them. It's you all that are crazy for being comfortable in there. That being said, I could at least abide them until last July. I could grudgingly and quickly use one if I needed to. But now? I work for a small historical preservation society in Manhattan. My job is handling and cleaning artifacts. It's quiet work, but I'm happy with it. It's important in its own little way. I'm not saving lives, but I am providing a service I think people need. My office got a call in late June. A museum in the Bronx was renovating, and the owners needed assistance moving and storing their collection. I'm not going to say which building this was exactly because I don't want to risk the owners getting upset. What I will say is this: the building is old. Revolutionary War old. If that's not good enough for you, I'm sorry. Telling the story isn't worth my job. We set up a walkthrough for the first Tuesday in July. We'd come in during the wee hours of the morning, go over the items with the museum's curator, then talk about what we'd need to do and how much it would cost. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to this day. Living in New York affords you few chances to really be away from crowds, so being cloistered away in an old building for a day sounded like a tiny vacation. The morning of, I woke up early, but not tired. I had oatmeal with blueberries, brushed my teeth, and used the toilet. My aversion to public ones aside, my own bathroom is just so damn nice. It's small, but there's a large window. The shower door is plate glass, the sink is marble, the faucet silver. My towels are soft and clean. They match the blue bath mat. Everything is so comfortable, so homey. Since the thing happened, I've been spending a lot of time in there, soaking up the comfort. I feel safe there. I was at the museum before 4. My coworker John and the curator Linda had already arrived. Obviously, those aren't their real names. We waited until the contractor got there, then we were off to look through the museum. Things were already starting to seem weird, but that's normal. When a building is that old, I feel it. Everybody does. Our first stop was the tiny staff office where Linda had donuts waiting for us. She was jovial, likable, genuine. I had a donut even though I wasn't hungry. Then Linda asked if any of us would like coffee. Looking back on that morning, I can point to a lot of unexplainable things. The fact that I said yes is one of them. It wasn't that I needed coffee. I had picked some up and finished it on the way. It wasn't that I was tired. I went to bed very early the night before. I wasn't cold. I wasn't getting a headache. I didn't have morning breath. There was no reason I should have taken that coffee. God, I even knew what it would do to me. I think back to this part of the story and I wonder, was the coffee part of it? Was the thing in my head at that moment reaching my hands out toward that cup of Dunkin' Donuts I was sure I didn't want? I'm telling myself it's because Linda was so nice. I think I need to believe that. Well, it didn't take long. Coffee does to me what it does to you. Still, I held off, waiting for an appropriate moment to break from the group. None came. By the time we had moved to the second floor, my stomach had gone from the occasional whine to a rolling grumble. There was no waiting left to do. Just as I was about to excuse myself, something sparked in my brain. If there was a staff office, there was likely a staff bathroom. A staff bathroom would be cleaner, kinder to those with shy systems. I turned, smiling to Linda. Sorry to interrupt. Where's your bathroom? I was careful to say it just that way. Your bathroom. How much cleaner could I have been that I needed that sanctuary? Lower level, take a left, right off the stairs, said Linda, smiling. You won't miss it. Hope faded when I recognized which bathroom she meant. I had seen it coming. In that moment, I hated Linda. Granted, she couldn't have known I was specifically asking her where the staff bathroom was, just as I couldn't vocalize that question. It would be weird, suspicious. I politely thanked her, cursed her in my head, and turned away. Though I desperately needed the bathroom, I measured my steps. Slowly, calmly. Any faster and the creaking floor would have alerted everyone of just how urgent a situation I was in. When I reached the bathroom, I did what I always do. I drew in a breath, assured myself that I would be in and out very quickly, and pushed the door open with my elbow. The setup wasn't awful. The tiling was old and cracked, but there was no graffiti on the walls. There was a little urinal in one corner and a stall next to it. A sink stuck out opposite these. The whole room was maybe 6 by 10, enough room to feel claustrophobic. I thought, pleased with the irony, still not terribly arranged. The light, though. God, that light was atrocious. It was thick and yellow, like aged paper or the teeth of a serious smoker. It made the whole room seem filmy, like a bottle of vegetable oil had exploded and covered everything. I grabbed paper towels from the dispenser by the door, put them in my pockets, and walked to the stall. My stomach was furious now. It was protesting my hesitations in high-pitched, loud squeals and cramps that forced me to clench and focus my breathing. Quickly, I took out a paper towel and opened the stall door. I began building a toilet nest, hurriedly placing paper towels on the toilet seat in a protective ring. By the time I finally sat down, I was considering never touching coffee again, just out of spite. At least the moment had arrived. Thank God. And then the bathroom door opened. All at once, my stomach and I were in agreement. The urge is one thing, but nerves take precedence over all. So quickly had my stomach handed the reins over to my brain that the cramps just vanished. I sat there, waiting, as footsteps entered the tiny bathroom and stopped. I remember thinking how awkward this would be as soon as I was out. I prayed that it would just be John. He and I are good friends. But it could very well be the contractor, or a night guard, or someone else I didn't know. Didn't know, but would have to work with for the rest of the day. A horrible thought crossed my mind then. Could it be Linda? God, had she assumed I was already down in here and barged in herself? Linda, with her damn Dunkin' Donuts. No, I thought, of course it wouldn't be Linda. She wouldn't stay if she saw the stall was occupied. And then I realized something strange. This intruder hadn't gone to the urinal, or the sink for that matter, in case he just needed to wash his hands. From the dim sense I had of the geography of the room, he was just standing in the middle. I tried to lower my head and see the shoes, but the angle wasn't right, until it was. As if answering my curiosity, the feet outside the stall came closer. It was then that I noticed just how heavy the footsteps sounded. It reminded me of stumbling, when your feet crash against each other and the ground producing abrasive concrete thuds. But these steps weren't rapid like that. They were slow, methodical, heels and toes separately making noise with each step. They were in front of the stall then, perfectly turned to show themselves in right side profile. It took me a moment to tell just what I was looking at. They were boots, to be sure, big, strong, black ones. But they lacked something I just couldn't figure out. It was form, I think. They looked nothing like any footwear I'd ever seen. Shoes are so angular in my mind, they have distinct edges and seams. These boots lacked any geometry, as though someone had just wrapped leather around a foot, glued on a sole, and called it. They were dirty, too, whitened with old dust and frayed around the toes. Had a homeless person wandered into the house? Probably not. The guard would have stopped anyone. So just who the hell was this? And just why the hell wasn't he or she moving? This person had walked into the restroom, bypassed the only reason to be in the restroom, and was now standing outside a stranger's stall. Why? Goosebumps trickled up my spine and along my arms as I started to wonder. And then a curious but calming idea popped into my head. What if this person was blind? In a way of relief, the theory explained everything. The person had paused so much trying to get his or her bearings. She or he was standing outside my stall because she or he had no idea anyone else was in here. Hell, this person probably even had a cane and was holding it just above where the stall door blocked my vision. Excellent work, I told myself, shining a light on my own uneasiness through tested logic and calm reasoning. And then I told myself, you should let this person know you're here. Maybe, had I kept my mouth shut, I wouldn't be writing this. Maybe I wouldn't be drinking so much more because I can't close my eyes in my own bed. Maybe I wouldn't be crying so often without the ability to tell my friends what's wrong with me. But maybe didn't happen. Hello, I said. I'm in here. One of the boots lifted, paused, and thudded down. Now this boot was pointed directly toward me. Its owner didn't answer. Hello, I said again, a little bit more nervous. I'll be out in just a second. The second boot lifted, turned, thudded. Now its owner must have been fully facing the stall, directly mirroring the direction in which I was sitting. With just the stall door in between us, there was still no answer. Could you just give me a minute? I asked shakily, and then the worst few seconds of my life began. It started slowly, I think with the left boot. It raised up, then came quickly back down. Then with the right, up, thud. Then the left again, then right. They alternated and gradually picked up their pace. It wasn't until it was fully in swing that I realized the boots were marching. Left, right, but not like a normal march, not the sensible, rhythmic keeping of time. This march was getting faster and louder. Left, right, thud, thud, left, right, thud, thud. My mind raced for another sensible, reasonable explanation to this. The boots outside pounded along with my heart as I tried to logically explain why he wasn't answering. Why was he marching? Why is this happening to me right now? And oh God, why is it getting so loud? I put my hands to the stall walls and felt them shaking with the might of the boots as my breathing became just as loud in my head as the terrible boot steps, and as my brain presented itself with a terrible picture, the door. What if it tries to open the stall door? I threw both palms against the metallic barrier and pressed to protect myself, pressed to keep the boots out, pressed in the mad hope that I could make this all unreal, put myself back into the world. Stop, I screamed finally. Please, just stop. And then they did. Mid-march, the boots stopped, one suspended inches above the ground. In my head I could still feel their loudness, but in front of me their horrible echoes began to fade, and then die. Slowly the boot lowered itself. When it touched the ground, it did so silently. My heart started to slow. Eventually, the idea that this was over began to form in my head. My hands were still propped against the door, but I wasn't pressing. I was on the road back to reality now. This was someone's weird, terrible idea of a joke. One of the night guards probably, just messing with the history geek. It was the same as elementary school, the bully and the nerd, alone in a hell called the bathroom. Well, this asshole had had his fun. He'd be out of a job the second I found Linda, right after I, finally, did my business in there and got out. I looked down one last time at those stupid, old, shapeless boots. They floated up and out of sight. I became aware again on the bathroom floor. My pants around my ankles. John was on the ground next to me, telling me to calm down. I was screaming, but I didn't seem to have any control over that fact. It was coming out of me like air. I couldn't help it. Linda was there, so was the contractor and the night guard. Linda was on the phone. 911. Still screaming, I looked at their shoes. All of them had shape and color and logos. My screaming calmed, and then I was crying. Maybe it looked like I did so out of exhaustion. In truth, I think it was because of the logo on the night guard's Nikes. At the hospital, they called a psychological breakdown. Due to stress, overworking. John was there to testify that I had been working pretty hard lately, so it did make sense. I nodded in agreement, unable to argue. I stayed the night in the hospital psych ward. They had to use a sedative to get me to use the bathroom. A few months have passed. I've been in therapy 2 times a week. It hasn't helped with my fear of public bathrooms yet, but in other areas of my life. Areas I don't need to talk about here. I think it's doing some good. I hope it's doing good. I need it. It was probably a month and a half after. John had come into the office, and it looked like he was trying to hide his work from me. I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was honest. He was working on stuff from the Bronx Museum, but we didn't have to talk about it if I didn't want to. My therapist told me to avoid mentions of the museum for now. My fears needed to be confronted slowly, graciously, with plenty of safety nets. Up until that moment, I was fine with that. Up until then, it was an easy topic for me to avoid. But all of a sudden, I felt the urge to know. Maybe it was morbid curiosity. Maybe it was the same urge that makes a person take a cup of coffee when he knows he doesn't need one. Well, began John, there was something odd about one of the walls upstairs. We thought it was termite damage at first, or something of the like. But it turns out it was a closet. An old closet got boarded up a long time ago. Must have been forgotten about between owners. Kind of a bust anyway, though. Just some clothes that turned to rags that turned to dust. John began to pull something up on his phone. A picture. These survived, though, and the museum wants to know if they're important. I looked, but I didn't need to.